Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kaylee and I like to read books and collect cute things. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about my June and July reading wrap up. I read 8 books in June and I read 11 books in July. In terms of quantity, yes, that was a great 2 months of reading, especially since usually in June and July, I am pretty busy with other things going on in the summertime, so I was really happy to be able to get to that many books. But in terms of quality, you guys, I read some of my favorite books of the entire year. Well, year's not over, but so far this past 2 months. So I'm eager to jump in and start, going over those with you. So let's go ahead and jump right in because again, we have 19 books to get through. I'm not going to go into every single synopsis of every single book, but what I am going to do is tell you what it was about, loosely spoiler free, my rating, what I thought about it, and if I recommend it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the books ready and we're gonna jump right into the wrap up. Okay, the first book that I read in the month of June was Brimstone by Callie Hart. This is the second book in the Fae and Alchemy series. The first book is Quicksilver. I'm not gonna lie, you guys, so I loved Quicksilver. It reminded me so much of Throne of Glass, like the heroine. I loved that book so much. So I think that this one was definitely more of like one of those bridge books for the third book that's coming out, and so I just really did not enjoy it as much, but I still gave it 3.5 stars. So this, I can't really talk about what this one is about in its entirety because it is a second book in a sequel, and I don't want to give away what happens in the first book. So in the first book, you're following Ceres, and she is a petty thief. She lives in a very oppressed environment, and she, there is definitely like an oligarchy happening, definitely like a nationalist kind of regime, and they are not allowing the outsiders to have clean water, access to food, anything like that. So they really are fostering a very oppressive society, very systemically oppressive society. And she ends up going into this other realm, which they have always told her is a myth, it's fake, whatever. So then there's like a whole cast of characters that you meet. There is a side character that, it was kind of a spoiler if I tell you the name of this person that ends up being kind of a big character in this book that I'm absolutely obsessed with and definitely needs their own, like, I don't know, book. But anyways, so this book is definitely more about the political aspects of the world and kind of just like setting you up for what is going to happen in the third book. So again, I didn't love it, but if you do like the first one, or I would say if you are interested in reading Quicksilver and you have not yet, maybe wait and then go into the whole series like once the third one comes out. That's how I think I would redo it, knowing what I know now. But it was still a really fun ride. I definitely think when the third one comes out, I may reread Quicksilver and then this one just to get geared up, because I really enjoyed Quicksilver so much, even though these are chunky books. This book also, I believe I got this one from Target. You guys, this is a gorgeous, like, look at the, are you kidding? Oh yeah, look at that. Anyways, but yeah, so 3.5 stars for this one, but I'm definitely still going to continue the series. Okay, and then after I read Quicksilver, I definitely needed like a little change in pace and everything. So I started Firefly Lane. Firefly Lane is a contemporary fiction by Kristen Hanna. I have read all of her brand new new release historical fiction books, which I was obsessed with. So I have been trying to dive into all of her backlist like contemporary fiction books, and I've read I think like 2 or 3 so far, and I've enjoyed them. This one is definitely probably my favorite that I have read of those books that are more of a contemporary fiction anyway. So this is a duology, so it's Firefly Lane, and I will definitely get into it later in the video, but I did also read the second book, which is Fly Away. But in the first book, you are following Tilly and Kate. They are lifelong friends, 10-ish years old up until like in their 50s. So if I tell you anything, if you're going to take any recommendation for me at all, do not read the synopsis. If you want to read this book, do not, and I repeat, do not read the synopsis for Fly Away. I feel like the emotional impact would have been harder if I had not read it. But anyway, as adolescents, finding who they are, you know, becoming a mother, like it really follows their journey, and then the ins and outs with each other, and they really are like sisters. So within this book, you know, there definitely are a lot of times where you're like, why would you do that? Oh my god. But it's definitely following more of like a character driven storyline, and you see them develop. You see them go the very low lows, you see them at their high highs, you know. So I really enjoyed the ride with this book. I definitely think it's worth I was about to say the girthiness. I don't know, that sounds weird for a book, but I loved it, and I started to watch the Netflix adaptation, which I was obsessed with. I think that the casting was absolutely perfect. So, but yeah, this one was a very good one. Okay, and then we are back to fantasy, and then I picked up Enchantra by Kaylee Smith. Now, I loved Phantasma. When I read that like 2 years ago, or last year, whenever it was, I was obsessed with that book. I loved it, loved everything about it. I'm not really like, when it comes to fantasy, I'm not like a games kind of person, but something about Phantasma I really enjoyed. I did not like this book at all. It's not the kind of fantasy that I really enjoy. I love dark fantasy. I like gothic fantasy, so you know, you would think I would enjoy it, but I'm more of a character driven versus like total plot games type of fantasy reader. It just wasn't for me, but it might be for you. But anyway, so that was Enchantra. Okay, and then I read, again, I just went back and forth between like a fantasy, contemporary fiction, but I read The One and Only by Marine Gu. Love this cover, by the way. But I rated this one 4.5 stars. Now, I really enjoyed this book. When it comes to a 5-star book for me, I have to like, sometimes even if I cry at a book, which that sometimes will elevate it to a 5-star, I have to like feel emotionally like pulled to people, and I didn't get that 5-star feeling from this book, but I absolutely loved it. It reminded me so much of Rebecca Surley's what was it called? Expiration Dates. I think if you like expiration dates, you will really enjoy this book. So the main character, you're following Evie, and her family, I believe they came here from Korea, and they have established this built this empire basically in LA, and essentially they are there is like a ritual that is not really known to anybody else, but they have a matchmaking service, and they have this like special way that they receive these perfect matches for people who they'll find like your one and only, and like it'll be like a name, and then they set up the person with who they believe is their fated match, and they have like 100% success rate. And so anyways, for whenever Evie was little, they knew there was a name that of a person that there was like their fated match, and so she has been like trying to find this fated match and like not giving herself, she's not being open to anything, because she's like, this is my person. I'm laser focused on finding this person. So of course there are other people in her life that challenge those beliefs or whatever. And I just really had a fun time learning about the family, following her journey. This was actually like really funny. Like I found myself like laughing out loud multiple times. There was kind of like a dry humor-esque about it. I don't know if she's written any other books, but like I will definitely be picking up her other books that come out, because I just really enjoyed this book a lot. But yeah, this one was definitely very good. Recommend 4.5 stars. Okay, now for the duology that I read. So I'm just gonna put both of them right here, but it is the Heartstrings duology by Liv Zander. I read this on my Kindle. They're both available on KU. I wanna say, you guys, this is probably one of the best like dark fantasy duologies that I've read. Sorry, I have my notes that I took right next to me, so I'll be referring back to those. But anyways, you're following a girl named Alara, and she is living in this world, like a lot of dark fantasy books, you know, they're very oppressed girlies. But she's living in this world where there's like this rot, okay, this like disease, and she's also like a grave digger, I want to say, because there is just like this plague happening. And so and her brother ends up becoming sick with the disease. And then this dark, mysterious stranger coming to her house, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna make a bargain with you. You will have to like sacrifice yourself, but it'll get rid of the rot, because there's like this sacrifice that is made for this crown, and the king doesn't want to sacrifice anybody because he can't find a wife, and he can't sacrifice a wife to the crown, which is creating the rot. So like, fall in love with him, and then, you know, the rot will go away, because then we'll just sacrifice you. And then she's like, bet, like, my brother is sick. Okay, sounds great. And then obviously things happen, right? So that was like a goofy way to talk about what happened, but like, it is so good. It is very lyrical when you're reading the book. It's like a song. It's so immersive with like the dark gothic. You definitely get like immersed into the world. I really didn't know where the book was going, and at the end of it I was crying. Like, I was like, what in the heck is going on here? It's less than 300 pages each book, so I don't know if I said that or not yet, but like, it's very easy to like get into and just like binge if you're looking for something that just like gets to the point and is not a fantasy duology that's like 500 pages. Like, please, can we normalize more fantasy duologies? We don't have to make them trilogies or like 6-part books. Talking about grief, talking about expectations, sacrifice, all these things. I mean, it was so good. I want to read more from this author for sure, and I definitely highly recommend it. Okay, now you guys, we've already talked about a lot of books that I've read that I've given very high rankings to, because June was just like really great runs of reading for me. And then I read How to Read a Book. I gave this book also 5 stars. If I'm looking back on it, it's probably more of like a 4.75 star book if I'm being like annoying and picky. But anyways, so we are following 3 different people in this book. It is more of a contemporary fiction. You're following 3 people and their lives are intertwined, and you find that out in the book. But one of the women in the book, she is coming out of prison, and she is being like reintroduced back into society, and she's trying to find a job. She's trying to find who she is, because she went into jail at like a young age, or like, I think she was like 18 or something. So she's coming back out from the inside and trying to find herself. And then we're also following a woman who, I think she was like an ex-college professor or something like that. Well, anyway, she has a book club at the women's prison. And then we're following another man who lost his wife, and he's a little bit older. And so we're following their stories, and it's really heartfelt. It's funny. And there are like some animals in the book that like you start rooting for. So all their stories just come together in this very beautiful way. It's set in Portland, Maine. It's also not very long. So I kind of like flew through this book, but I definitely will say, if you want a book that's like very heartfelt and sweet and found family and whatever, like, I would definitely pick this book. Oh, that's what I was going to compare it to, because I said found family. It was TJ Klune. I think if you like TJ Klune's writing style, the vibes, you would like this. This is not like a speculative fictional book, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. And this book that I read in the month of June is Pachinko. You guys, this might be one of my favorite books I've ever read. Deadass. This is like by Min Jin Lee. Holy crap, I didn't realize what I was getting into whenever I started this book, but oh my god, it is so good. So you are following like generations of this family, and it's in a linear timeline. You're not going back and forth, bouncing around different timelines, but you are meeting quite a few different people as the story progresses. So you're starting out with like great grandma and you're ending or great-great-grandpa, you're ending with granddaughter or whatever. But anyways, so you're following this family, and they are living in Japan occupied Korea. So then throughout history, you see the evolution of like North and South Korea starting, and there's a lot about politics and about oppression between the Koreans that were living in Japan occupied Korea at the time, the like systemic racism that they faced and oppression that they faced because they were looked down at. History wise, I did not really know much about that part of history in Asia, so I was very, very thankful for this book because I felt like I learned something and it really opened my eyes to a big part of history, again, that I did not know about. I love the characters in this book. I loved how every single character that was introduced in their life, you get to know them in such like a intimate way. And this book does have a lot of trigger warnings. It is dark in a lot of places, but I definitely recommend it for anyone who likes historical fiction, who likes a epic character driven story. It's so good. I am so excited for Min Jin Lee's new book that's coming out next month, I believe in September. Again, I can't say enough good things about it. Also go down in like my top 10 favorite books ever. So yeah, that's Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. Please, if you have not read this book, read it today. Okay guys, now we're on to our July books. There are 11 books to get to, so I'm gonna try to go through these quicker than the last one. So let's go ahead and jump in. So the first book that I read in the month of July was Julie Chan is Dead. Now, this book was very good. I saw it being compared to Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, and I will definitely say that I do see the comparison because of someone assuming somebody else's identity. There's a lot, very strong social commentary in this book as well, just like Yellowface. Yellowface explores more about the publication industry, and this one is more about social, like influencer culture and curated self. That's what the word I was looking for, the curated self on social media. You know, if you're only posting the 5% of your life, which is like your highlight reel, then your life is curated to look, you're romanticizing your life, which, do you have to put every single bad thing that happens to you online? No. But if that is your entire brand, is yourself, then, you know, there is something to be said. There is a lot of philosophical topics that we can discuss at a later date about, you know, what people are expected to put out into the world. Should there be expectations even? So anyway, this book is I wouldn't call this a horror book, but I would definitely say it's very much more of like a psychological thriller. We're following a sister that her and her twin were kind of like separated when they were younger, and they meet back up, and the sister is a social media influencer, and she's definitely kind of narcissistic. Actually, both of them are to an extent, but anyway. So this isn't a spoiler because it's in the bio, but one of the sisters ends up finding the influencer sister dead at her house and assumes her life. So it goes off the rails from there. It is very dark, it is very twisty, and I definitely think I would recommend it. I rated it 4 stars. It definitely worked for me. I love books that dabble in like horror literary fiction. So anyways, yeah, I definitely recommend this one. Okay, sorry. I picked up Fly Away by Kristen Hanna. This is the second part of the Firefly Lane. This is the ending. And yeah, I will not spoil what this one's about because again, it ruins the end of the first book. Anyways, again, but you are following the same characters and it's kind of like the end to their story. It picks up kind of like right where the other one leaves off, and you're kind of like, this book was frustrating for me because again, I can't really talk about it without spoiling. I will say that I did not like it as much as the first one. Yes, you do see the character arcs of the characters because everyone in the first book is like making issues and they're humans, and you know, so no one's gonna do the right perfect thing. We are all flawed at the end of the day. Some of the people in this book really frustrated me, and there was like, so that's why I could not, and I know that's the point, but like it was to the point in this book where I didn't even care about them anymore. I was like, you suck, like these people are horrible. And with when you're reading books like that where you still are rooting for them even though they are flawed, and like I found myself not rooting for them. But I think a big reason why too was because there is a very similar trope in this book, Homefront. If you've read that book, there's like something similar that happens, and like a very similar character arc in this book. And I could not stand the characters in that book at certain points, so I found myself like being like, oh my god, that's so similar, and that's why I couldn't stand it. But if you read the first one and you didn't like absolutely love the first one, like if you read Firefly Lane and you give like a 4-star, I would say just stop with that one because it doesn't get better. Just stop with Firefly Lane. But if you love Firefly Lane and you need to see what happens to those characters, then definitely pick up Fly Away. And by the way, I will read anything that Kristen Hanna writes. Like, she is the queen. She is a queen. All right, and now for the third book that I read in the month of July is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. All right, I tabbed this book up, you guys. Now, I love Abby Jimenez. I love her. I was very scared to pick this book up though, and I'll tell you why. Because I, again, love Abby Jimenez. This book got a lot of really bad reviews. Now, I loved this book. Like, this was a 4.5 star for me. Reason why it wasn't a 5-star was because there were some things that were going on that I was like, this is so annoying. But like, but other than that, I loved the humor. It made me laugh out loud multiple times. This book, like, I can definitely see the reasons why people don't like it because it is very insta-lovey, but I enjoyed the commentary in this book. I thought that it was absolutely beautiful. I connected with the main character in a lot of ways where she puts other people kind of like first, puts herself on the back burner, and a lot of like grief around being there for a sick parent, things like that. And this book is very triggering for a lot of people because the mom has very severe dementia, and you see a lot of like the really bad episodes, and she puts herself and is like needing to help, and like, what do you do for someone in that situation? Like, it's a hard struggle, and it's kind of about like letting go in a weird way. And I just really found myself like really understanding what she was going through. But in true Abby Jimenez fashion, you know, the main male characters in her book, the heroes of the book, they are very like acts of service type of dudes, and I loved it. I just loved Samantha and Xavier's relationship. So yeah, but yeah, I really found myself enjoying the ride. So it is a hot take because not a lot of people liked this book when it came out last year, but I really did. And I'm seeing a lot of the same discourse for her newest book. And so I think I'm gonna have to pick it up because anyways, but I really want the paperback, you guys. So I don't know, maybe I'll just get it from the library and then I'll buy the paperback when it comes out because I want all of her books. Anyways, no one cares about that. We're gonna move on to the next book. All right, so the next book is Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Danneman. Okay, I have been having FOMO because everybody has been listening and reading this book. Well, I saw this for sale in paperback form. The hardback covers are freaking huge, and I simply do not have the space for the Zodiac Academy and Dungeon Crawler Carl in hardcover. Okay, I don't have the space. But when I saw the paperback, I was like, I will get it. Now, I tandem read this book. I will definitely say that everyone is right. The audiobook is where it is at. Now, I am definitely going to continue the series. I'm listening right now to an audiobook that is like taking over my life. It is like, it's so long. But after I get done finishing that one, I'm going to dive into the second book. So anyways, what is this book about? I rated this 3.75 or 4 stars, but yeah, I really enjoyed the time. I'm more of like a character-driven person, which I've said like 1,000,000,005 times on this video so far. This book was so fun, and in the audiobook, I think if I would have read it with my eyeballs, I would have been kind of like, not bored, but I would have been like, okay, like, I don't know, because again, but you are following him as he's like learning about the world and things like that. But there are some parts that can get a little bit repetitive. But anywho, you are following this guy named Carl, and he is chasing his cat, his girlfriend's prize-winning Persian cat outside, Princess Donut. Earth is like decimated. Basically anybody that was inside of a structure is like dead, and then these aliens, there's like an AI that comes on that's like, earthlings, like, you are now part of a game if you have lived or if you've survived, and if you want to, if you want to survive, for the chance of survival, then you need to play this game and find this door. And there's all these different, like, if you're a gamer, it's definitely, they talk about like leveling up and toolboxes and all this other stuff. So it's really fun. I definitely say the audiobook was good though, because although I'm not a gamer, I can appreciate where it was going, but also it was like listening to a movie, and I really enjoyed that part. So I think it'll be a good like breakup. I'm still like thinking about the characters, and I still like remember so much about them, so I'm like, okay, that definitely says something to like my enjoyment level. And like, because I read so much, like a lot of times will like forget like character names or like, you know, tropes, things like that. But I am finding myself like thinking about these characters and like wondering what's going on and like speculating on like future books. So but yeah, I really liked it, and I recommend it on audio. All right guys, and then the next book that I read in the month of July was Clara and the Sun, and this is by Kazuo Ishiguro. And this book was very interesting. So ironically, I had asked my chat GPT, hey, I loved Pachinko. What are some books that you can tell me that are very similar, or like some good recommendations, follow-up reading after Pachinko? So it gave me a lot of really great recs, which I have been wanting to learn more about the Korean and Japan like occupation, war, like conflict in that area. I thought it was very interesting, and I wanted to hear more stories about that time period. So it did recommend me a lot of those types of books, which I will get into whenever we discuss my reading plans for August and beyond. Anywho, and I will definitely say that, so this one actually, the reason why I said ironically was because this one is about, it has a lot of commentary about AI. This one's also being made into a movie, so I was like, I have to read this one, obviously. It has Jenna Ortega in it, and I love her. And it's going to be an A24 movie, I'm pretty sure. So anyways, what is this book about? So you are following Clara, who is a, what is it called? An artificial friend, an AI, basically. Friend, robot, they look very real. They look like kids. And they are like a companion or an artificial friend. And more like, I guess, like wealthy, more to-do families will buy their kids these friends, and there's different like editions of them, and some are like more specialized than others, but they all seem to have like different levels of understanding and cognitive thinking and observation skills. Because in the first part of the book, you're kind of, she's at the store and she's seeing the kids come in, she's seeing the different customers, interacting with them, really observing about the human condition, like but you're following in her perspective. So it's interesting that she, as she's observing things, as she is kind of like digesting everything and like taking it in, and I'm thinking of a word I can't remember, but anyways, so it's really interesting. There's a lot of philosophical questions about AI use and like what actually makes you human, and it talks about like identity and a lot about grief, and you know, whether, you know, a person can really replace someone that like you love. And there was a lot of things in this book that reminded me of The Pet Cemetery by Stephen King, which is one of my favorite books, and kind of like let dead die, like that kind of thought process, and like, can you really replace someone once they go? It's just, the message with this book really resonated to me, but the execution of it, I don't know if maybe it was the writing style or what, but I didn't like love it, but I definitely loved what it was saying. And I definitely think this is a very great book for the times. So I definitely want to read more by Kazuo Ishiguro. This book may not be in like my top favorite books, but like I definitely liked it well enough, and I rated it 3.75 stars. Okay, now you guys, I am so excited to talk with you guys about this book. I loved it so much. Was it a summer reading book? Absolutely not. that is Nocticadia. This was not a book that I would usually pick up in the summertime, but it was giving everything that I wanted it to give. I loved it. I rated it 5 stars, obviously, as much as I'm gushing about it. But it is set in a school, like a college off the coast of Maine. It's a very like old, haunted, rainy, moody type of atmosphere. It is just very atmospheric, very gothic, very dark academia, romanticy. It's definitely horrific in terms of like the graphicness with like worms and like stuff like that, and like body horror in a way. So if that's something that you don't like, then you might not like this book, but I absolutely loved it. I love the love story. It's basically you're following this girl, and her mom died in this like very weird way, and she like said, she's like, I saw something like that no one else is believing me about. Like my mom did not just like hit her head or something. I forgot what it was now, but so she is like on this quest to like learn more. She's also living in this just like really bad like environment. Her sister is in this rehab, kind of, not rehab, it's like this like a mental facility, and she has to help with the payments. So it's kind of put her on the back burner of being able to go to a good university because she has to use any funds to help fund for her sister. So anyways, she gets a scholarship to Nocticadia, and when she goes, there is a professor-student sort of like relationship forming. It's like a mystery also. There's a bunch of people that are like kind of up to no good. There is like a sense of this, which by the way, like I love this book so much. I did find like a couple of like plot holy type of things with this like secret society that's mentioned. Like they talk about it, and then like there's not like I wanted more about the secret society. Yeah, but it is a fantasy standalone, dark fantasy standalone. Please give me more books like this. I flew through it. I think it took me 2 days to finish it. Like I could not stop reading it. It's definitely slow burn. But yeah, if you like a morally gray male main character, you like gothic romance, dark academia, you have to read this book. Okay, now we're moving on to probably one of my most surprising books. Okay, which Nocticadia was kind of a surprising book because I was like, I knew I was gonna like it. I didn't know I was gonna be obsessed with it. But anyways, so the next book that was a definite huge surprise was The Paper Palace, and this is by Miranda Cowley Heller. So this was a Reese Witherspoon book club pick from a while ago. It's been on my physical TBR, and I'm like, I have to read it. It's set, I believe, in the Cape, and I was like, I have to read this book in the summertime. Like if I don't read it now, I'm never gonna read it, and I am so glad I did. And this was a reason why I thought it was surprising. I knew it was gonna be more of like a literary fiction. We're following a group of characters. I knew it was, just from reading the synopsis of this book, I knew it was gonna be somewhat messy. I did not realize this whole book is mess. This whole book, like in a good way. It's tea, okay? I was like, whoa, the spiciness. I was like, what the like that came out of total left field for me. I liked it though. It was 4 out of 5 stars. I would definitely say check your trigger warnings. Does this look like a check your trigger warnings book? No, but I'm telling you right now to do that because it was very deceivingly traumatic. Like this book is trauma from multi-generations. It's kind of also about stopping trauma, like the cycle of abuse in a way, your expectations. Also, this book talked a lot about like what you feel like you deserve in life based off your own choices. And I just really liked it. It was really good. So what is this book about? So we are following during the summer. So it's basically going back and forth between like, you're following like one whole 24-hour day and then flashbacks to the past. So it's like 8 a.m. and then what happened, and then like a flashback, and then like at the beginning of like her life and like the parents' lives and all these other things. So you're following like a generation, like I think a couple of generations of women, and then like it's going over the course of like one calendar or like one day. I don't know if that makes sense. Anyways, there's 2 different timelines happening, but basically we're following on the morning of a family summer house in the Cape. There is a impulsive decision made by one of the characters. Also, if you are someone who's like, I don't like to read about infidelity, it's not for me, I like messy books, okay? Sue me. I watch Real Housewives. I like all that stuff. So I eat up stuff like that. If that's something that you don't like, then you will absolutely hate this book. It's also kind of talking about like mother-daughter relationships too, and like strained relationships, someone who has like a lot of walls up. This book's just so good. I highly enjoyed it, and I think this is this author's only book, and it's like out the gate you just had like a Reese Witherspoon book club pick, and then you're not gonna feed us anymore after this salacious novel. What is going on? But yeah, so I talked entirely too much about this book, but it is very good. Okay, and now we are moving into another book called The Running Man by Stephen King. You may have heard of it. It is now a movie that I really want to see after reading the book. I'm gonna be totally honest with you guys. I rated it a 3-star because I love Stephen King. I did not really enjoy this book at all. I actually kind of hated it. I'm realizing that like the books that are written by Frederick Bachman, which is basically Stephen King, I'm not jiving with. The writing style, I can see it was Stephen King, but like the headspace, I was like, this is not. It seemed super erratic. And knowing what I know about this book, I think he wrote it, like, I think he said he wrote it and then like 10 years later published it, and he wrote it within like a snowy cabin like weekend or something. Like it just seemed like it was rushed, and I don't know. I just similar to The Long Walk, I just like didn't love it. But basically we're following this guy who's like, he's living in a dystopian time, which is actually 2025 in this book, which is hilarious. But anywho's, but like the technology in the book really has not evolved beyond like the 80s or 70s when he wrote the book, but like it's in a dystopian time where there is definitely like an oligarchy, and they are putting on a game. So like all the televised games are like extremely violent, and that's like their entertainment. It's like almost like a more modern like Roman Empire. So they're on these televised games. It's like life or death. They're very brutal and very barbaric. But one of the most popular money funding games is The Running Man. And essentially there is one guy, and he is like, people like trained like Navy SEALs, like military operants are trying to find this one person. But if you can survive a month, then you will live there, and you will live beyond that, and you will get like $1 billion or something. So he needs the money for his daughter who's like really sick, and he ends up competing in the game. Obviously he's a very snarky character. He's also very extremely homophobic and racist, and so as I was reading the book I was like, yikes, this did not age well. And I know that kind of makes up his character arc in a weird way, because it's kind of showing that he's like a crappy person. I didn't enjoy reading that, to be honest with you. I was like, okay, for what are these comments? Why? I did like the dystopian aspects of it. I did like the sci-fi elements. Did I like the journey we took? Not really. Okay, now the next book that I read was Strangers by Belle Burden. This is a memoir. I know a lot of people don't rate memoirs or like nonfiction because it's like about someone's life. I will rate books because like I won't rate them negatively. Like if I read someone's memoir and I don't like it for whatever reason, then I just like won't rate it. But like I do want to rate a book highly because that does help elevate their like how popular it is. So I think it is a good thing to rate them highly if you enjoy it. It was very sad and introspective, and I love the way she wrote. Like the format of the writing I thought was really good. Also, there's a lot of times where I notice like if an author is an attorney, then they have a very good writing style. Like for instance, Kristen Hanna, she's an attorney, and she really like researches and things like that. And anyways, there's something to be said about authors who become, or I'm sorry, attorneys that become authors. Anywho, so what is this book about? So this book is about probably one of the worst human being men alive. I want to punch him. But this woman, during COVID, she finds out her husband is a cheater, pumpkin eater, and she learns that the next day he's like, I'm so sorry, it was one time, it was a mistake. And then like the next day he's like, yeah, actually I've been thinking about it, see you later, I'm out, I'm done with this marriage, I'm actually done with the kids too, so like I can like take him to lunch I guess a little bit, but like I don't really have any reason to like be in their lives. And she's like, whoa, what? Like we have been together for I think it was like 15 years at this point. They'd been married, and they both come from very like privileged backgrounds. Her family was like ties to like Vanderbilts and were featured in like Vogue magazine. And anyway, so she's definitely like, he just kind of was like, yeah, you'll be fine, see ya. So she is like just dissecting their relationship, their marriage, trying to see like what the hell happened, like where did I go wrong, like what were there signs that I missed, like what led to this. And so she kind of goes back and forth between like her going through like the stages of grief and grieving the relationship and like the acceptance of it and like what she's going to do later, but then also you get flashbacks of like the past and like from whenever they met and more about like their relationship. So how she wrote it was very, very good. And but yeah, this was a memoir. I got this at TJ Maxx and it was like in immaculate condition, but I thought this was so good, and I think it was just long enough. But I definitely recommend this book. I think I'll probably on audio, it might be really good too. I didn't listen to it, but I would expect a book like this to probably be very good on audio. But yeah, I definitely recommend this book, and I definitely see this book being a book, Goodreads Choice Award nonfiction, like memoir pick for this year. Okay, the next book that I read was The Divorce by Frida McFadden. I rated this one 3 stars. It's a Frida McFadden book. I don't love her books. You know, they're very much palate cleanser, quick type of reads. I got it because I wanted a beach read. I actually read it physically and on my Kindle. It was okay. It was a time. It was a book. It was a story that I read. Her books to me are kind of like a Hallmark movie. They're just kind of like, they're just there. I'm not trying to sound like elitist when I say that. I'm not trying to doo-doo on Frida McFadden. I'm not trying to doo-doo on the book. I'm not. It's just, that's what it is for me. It's a palate cleanser book. Sometimes when I'm reading them, the characters, they make the dumbest decisions. There are certain things that sometimes they gravitate to. Every single child also in a Frida McFadden book is so fucking annoying. So yeah, I just could not deal. So, but yeah, this was a book that I read. It was 3 stars. It's very reminiscent of My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney. A woman gets home, her key doesn't work in the lock. The husband, who's also a total scumbag, POS, is like, oh, we're gonna be doing some renovation, surprise, go live in this apartment. Oh, and I already packed up all your stuff to be living there for a little bit, hee hee. And then he divorces her, and of course there's another woman. And then it goes from there. It's definitely a psychological thriller, domestic thriller, really crappy people, and it's a mystery. So yeah, that's this book. Okay, and for the last book, oh, I feel like I've been talking forever. We have Dolly All the Time by Annabelle Monaghan. This was so good. It's my first Annabelle Monaghan book, and I will definitely say it's not going to be my last. I absolutely adored it. It takes place in Rhode Island, kind of similar to like a Newport, Rhode Island, and that's where I actually bought the book, and I was obsessed with the vibes. I loved Dolly, the main character. This book actually reminded me a lot of OG, like Abby Jimenez type of books. I found myself laughing out loud. I loved the story between Dolly and Stuart. This is a fictional book. It's like a contemporary fiction romance book, but it's really a book also about like self-discovery and kind of like feeling like you are having what you deserve and in life. Similar but not similar to The Paper Palace. That one was more about trauma. This is more about like doing something for yourself as opposed to putting yourself on the back burner, which is also reminiscent of Say You'll Remember Me. So something similar to that. So Dolly is, I want to say, the oldest sibling. She has a brother and a sister. The brother has special needs, and the other sister is kind of like living her own life. And so she's a single mom, and her dad has a fisherman or a fish business, and she's trying to help out with that. She's a teacher. She has all these little odd jobs, and you know, she ends up helping to change a tire for this like wealthy family, this rich guy in town. And there's like a fake dating trope, definitely good summer vibes, and there is just a lot of emotional growth in this book, and her kind of like finally putting her foot down and saying, hey, like I deserve this and I deserve to be happy. And I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was so good, and this is definitely not the last Annabelle Monaghan book I'm going to pick up. I'm very excited about, you know, finishing. I know she has like 4 other ones, so I definitely want to get to those eventually. But yeah, so that was the June and July wrap up. Lots of great reads, a lot of new favorite potential authors. I mean, I just like a lot of different, all over the place. Had some historical fiction, had some contemporary romance, had some nonfiction, and then fantasy, romantasy type of books, dark romance vibe. So I was really all over the place, but definitely had some of the best books of the year in the past couple months. Thank you so much for being here today and hanging out with me. If you have read any of these books, and what are your thoughts on them, let me know down in the comments below. Also, if you have not already, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Remember to take care of yourselves. Bye.